Australians love live music, but we've all seen the music industry struggling recently, and especially after COVID. And along with The Push, which is an organisation that aims to promote music and support young people's involvement in music, we've done some research, which is the first of its kind in Australia, to see what's stopping young people from participating in music. And delighted to be joined by Lucy Sugerman here today, who works with MusicACT, is a local artist and has done some work with The Push. So perhaps, Lucy, you can start us off by talking about why the music industry is so important to Australians, and particularly young people.
I think there's a lot of data out there that kind of talks about how our most played songs are from our teenage years and our coming of age years, and we derive the most attachment and nostalgia from those songs. And I think that's really reflected, in this study as well. Young people overwhelmingly want to attend live music and think it's really important. Music is a way of storytelling. It's a reflection of our culture and who we are. Consumption of music and engaging with music is just so important for community building and connection, and for, the cultural fabric of who we are.
So why do you think it's so important to support young people in being able to attend live music events?
What we know is that young people want to see live music. That's evident. It's really important to support that now, particularly as we're experiencing, such huge economic changes and cultural changes and social changes, and things feel really uncertain. But what we know historically about times like this is that it's a really great opportunity to decide what's important, what's not, and what we value as a society. With all these changes, it's definitely something that we need to prioritize. And I think there's been this blip, and it's about, getting young people back out there and finding ways to innovate and make things more accessible. We can't change all these world events and craziness, but we can adapt how we approach it and how we view it and how we value it.
And the former treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, said, everything is affordable if it's a priority. And you're totally right. Like, what we value as a society should be what our government delivers. And so in the research, we've polled, along with The Push, we've polled a nationally representative sample of young people, which is from 16 to 25, and asked them what the biggest barriers to attending live music events are. And no surprise that the biggest factor was cost. One of the solutions that The Push has been pushing for is a $200 government-funded voucher to attend music events, which 80%, 4 in 5 of young people said that would help them go to music events more often, which that's huge. Like 80% in polling is a massive amount. Like, you couldn't get 80% of people to agree that they liked puppies. Well, maybe not, but 80% is a lot. And that, honestly, that would be cheap for the government. The government is so happy to subsidise diesel use for coal mines, and they're happy to subsidise gas hubs, supporting a music industry in decline, supporting the cost of living for young people. I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like we were saying before, we've experienced this unprecedented world event, which has disrupted how we consume culture, how we consume music, and I guess a lot of those coming of age trends. And so what something like this would do would be to encourage, masses of amounts of people to engage with music and engage with culture. And once you get people there, then they realize, oh, this is actually really fun. I get to meet new people. I get to see live music. I get to discover artists. I get to have, a day out with my friends. This is great. And then you have return customers. It's
hard to describe the experience of a festival to someone who hasn't been to one before. And that first experience, I think everyone remembers it. And if you're priced out of a festival experience, that is a potential lifetime customer, right? If you want to talk about it in business terms, the industry just won't get. And the other key solution that we polled is specifically about young people putting on their own events and developing government funded programs to support young people to organize and attend and deliver their own sort of music events, which also had massive majority support. I think 81% of young people supported that policy. You would have seen these kind of government programs. I think Victoria has one running that's pretty good at the moment.
I think they're great. And the reason is because I think young people a lot of the time are the drivers and tastemakers of culture, and they know what other young people like, and they've got their ear on the pulse and their eye on the trends, and so they are able to create events that bring communities together that appeal to that age range. What a program like this means is enabling those pathways to get the industry back to being sustainable. We don't want to rely on these kind of government fundings forever. We want to be self-sustaining. We want to be something this country values. But right now in this time of crisis, by injecting that funding into people and into skills, then we build up the next generation of, industry professionals and creatives. It's really about, keeping those pathways accessible and strengthening them.
And when we talk about like the arts and entertainment sector more broadly, it's a really important sector in our economy, and like people always talk about like, oh, like mining is the backbone of our economy. But when you look at how many people they employ, the arts and entertainment sector employs 4 times as many people as coal mining does, which is from a report that the Australia Institute did back in 2021. And I mean, the coal mining jobs are declining, so it's probably even worse than that now. And that's something that I think is quite undervalued too, like the actual economic contribution of a sector that employs a lot of people, and for the turnover that it has, employs many more people than, the construction sector or the mining sector.
It is really true. It is a huge industry, and it's often passively policied by so many different sectors and made up of so many micro businesses that it's difficult for, I guess, people to fathom, and I think a lot of the time has been sidelined by government policy because it feels like this huge beast that's difficult to tackle. But if you think about it, like, I talk about we need to put on great events for people. What these events mean is increased tourism, increased patronage into hospitality venues, increased vibrancy in a city. Music makes cities better and makes communities better and gives something for people to do. It brings people out, and it's a huge employer. And with research like this and with energy put towards something like this, it means that we can, I guess, hopefully finally get to firstly give the industry the credit it deserves. We finally get to quantify this amazing contribution that the arts and creativity has been making for thousands and thousands of years, but I guess in a metric that makes sense to our current society and current economy. And, hopefully create safer and more inclusive and progressive working conditions for the industry as well. Young people are kind of a little bit of an afterthought in a lot of policy where, okay, we're going to do this Band-Aid solution, we're not going to think about the future implications. But young people are the future generation. And so by providing, research like this and solutions like this, it means that we are forward thinking. And while the music industry feels like it's a bit of a crazy, unstable, uncertain place right now, I think at the same time, this time has revealed what was already really fragile. So now we have an opportunity to innovate, to evolve, and to address a lot of those things that were already, quite unstable, particularly in this country. We have a cultural fabric that can feel not unified, not inclusive. And I think, examining things like this is another of many, many important steps and work that need to happen to move forward from that and create a better Australia that, are more inclusive and can walk together a little bit more.
And as you said before, like it's about what we value as a society, and in a democracy, like it's up to us as like citizens to let our government know like what we value so that they can represent us and our interests. And and this kind of research to show like objectively what young people are thinking, what's stopping them from participating, and like what we can do and the solutions that they support. Over to you, government.